and and it says that they're busy right now. Oh, we are live. Oh, well, we'll do our best. All right, it works the second time when there's not any problems with StreamYard. But welcome to the Comic Watchers. My name is Chad Burdett. Matt has the night off, and my guest this evening is Sweeny Boo, writer, artist, all-around talented creator. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How about you?
Just I'm excited to get to talk to you. I mean, I've seen your work for a while, and glad to finally get to meet you and learn a little bit more about you. Um,
I appreciate
so
it.
before
Thank you.
so before we get into talking about your work with Dynamite and everything else, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about your history with comics as a reader and
hmm
as a creator.
Well, I grew up in France, so like I grew up reading like, French bande dessinée, which is like all these like kind of like comic strip. Which is like that's like my whole childhood. But in my mid-teens, my boyfriend at the time like introduced me to like Iron Man and Spider-Man and all of that because in France we used to get the like collected editions because like issues wasn't really like we especially where I grew up, like there wasn't comic shops, like impossible. So I remember reading like the origin story of like Spider-Man and I was just like blown away and I was like this is amazing and I fell into a rabbit hole because comics is just so big and there's so much to read and started reading graphic novels, Scott Pilgrim and stuff like that. And moved to Canada in my early 20s and I really, really wanted to like get into comics and knowing people in the community. And everyone was just so lovely, gotten to do conventions and just like it's just overall just like it's so nice. I love it.
So, kind of, you said you wanted to get into the kind of tell us about your experience of starting out and ending up where you are now.
Yeah, so I didn't really go to school to draw like I do right now. I kind of just stopped after high school as just like a personal choice. I didn't want to have any debt. And I started, doing like I had a bunch of day jobs and I was like working with a French studio. I was doing like comic lettering for them. So it was really interesting to learn how like the other side. I did that for like maybe 5 years, like freelancing while still like, on the weekends and every time I had just downtime, I would be drawing and trying to like come up with projects. It took about, I'd say, 8 years before I started getting my work really out there. What really did it for me, I went to TCAF, which is the Toronto Comic Art Festival in Toronto, which is one of my favorite convention. And they had like portfolio reviews, which is what I did, and met some folks at IDW and Boom Studios, which resulted in I got my graphic novel published by Boom and started doing covers with IDW, which like 6 months later led me to doing Captain Marvel with them.
Nice. And one of your, I want to get back to the graphic novel here in a bit, but
hmm
you're currently the writer for Dynamite Comics' Cruella de Vil. um,
Yes.
kind of, kind of talk about that because I mean, I guess the Disney characters are kind of making a comeback. I mean, I grew up with when not when it, 101 Dalmatians actually came out, but that's one of the first Disney films that I kind of remember
hmm
seeing.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a classic. It's like it I've rewatched it so many times since, and it's like it hasn't aged. It's still so beautiful. And I feel like all the villains are really getting to tell their own stories now, which is what I like about Disney characters. Cruella is just, I love fashion, so Cruella was like, when I got the email, I was like, yes, I love her. This is fantastic. What I love about her is how she's just like, you know, how you have Maleficent, who's very composed in her evilness. Cruella is just, she's like, she is about to explode at any time. She is just so tense, and I feel like it really gives an opportunity for comedy. Especially to just put her in situations to just drive her crazy. Sorry, my cat. Every I'm on a call, she's got to get the attention. Um, so
Don't worry, you'll
anyway,
probably
yeah,
see my cat here soon too.
this is one of the perfect things about like doing a lot of things from home now. It's just like pets are everywhere. um, but anyway, yeah. So it was cool because also this Cruella story really takes place at the end of the first movie, so we really get to see like what happens with like, well, the dogs were kidnapped, and of course, Cruella is going to be accused. And what are we going to do with that? What's going to happen to her? And maybe getting to give a little more depth to her character and who she is. Like in the book, in the original book, there's way more of a background to Cruella. So I try to like draw inspiration from all of that, and then Mariana and Ellie just took the script and made it something completely amazing. So
So where you said that it picks up after what is what story are you telling for the series?
so basically I really wanted to focus with the fact that like it's like there's no proof that Cruella did what she did. Sorry, I gotta move her. She cannot stop moving my screen. Okay. So yes, basically, Cruella has been exonerated of any kind of like charges against her about the kidnapping because there was no proof. Um, but she's like this waspy high society London fashion person, and of course, like her reputation took a hit because of that. So there's the whole thing about Cruella wanting to just redeem herself, wanting to just get into just like the good eyes of the press. But also, what I like about in the movies is that even though the animals and the humans don't really talk to each other, but like the animals are all connected. There's the Twilight Bark, there's all of that. So no, none of them like forgot about what she did, and they have a really deep hatred for her. So they just, at any opportunity they have, are gonna mess with her or mess with her plans, and just paint her in just the worst possible just picture. And of course, there's always like photographers around when that happens, so it makes it really difficult for her. So all that sprinkled with a little bit of like, she gets entangled with someone who's about to do just like trying to like steal something pretty important um, at Buckingham Palace. So basically, she makes all the wrong choices all over again.
So being it's a character that's controlling part of Disney's stable, how much, if any, creative license did you have to with the character to work with?
It was pretty. Like I did find like honestly, we had a lot of room to just explore things with her, just little just rules that I shouldn't. She didn't smoke. She doesn't smoke. Cruella doesn't smoke anymore, so that's just out of the picture. That was one big thing, which is, it's okay. I feel like like I mean in the movie when she first appears and like this like cloud of smoke is like it's when I was a kid, it was like my image. So I had a harder time letting go of that. But no, other than that, they were really really cool with whatever we wanted to do. Um, yeah, we try to like maintain having like Jasper and Horace and everyone around her. Yeah, it was pretty free, honestly.
So this is a limited series, or is it kind of
um,
an ongoing?
it was planned as a limited series, but everything that I tried to write it with like some sort of open ending.
Mhm,
So like it you can always pick up from there and just add to it if you want, but it also it's pretty contained.
mhm. So, was there anything you learned about Cruella de Vil as a character, or something that made you more, I get more sympathetic to her, or made you think that she's worse of a person than she is or could be?
Um I think she lacks a lot of self-esteem because even though she pretends to not love anyone, she wants to be loved by people. She wants to have the thing that she wants, and I feel it's just because to create this like image about her. She's definitely compensating for something.
Mhm,
And that's what I tried to give to her with like she has a butler who's he's been around in her family forever, and he kind of like loves her unconditionally even though she's awful to him. So it just like I there's love in her life somehow, but also I don't know, I think she's way funnier than people give her credit for. I think she's got some rage issues, but I just I feel like we've all seen like Seinfeld and George and his like tantrums and all of that, which I feel like maybe with Cruella it's definitely like way more, but like for me it's like it's just so deeply funny. So I love her even more for that.
and now for on the series, you're just writing. You're not doing the interiors. Is that correct?
Yes, so Mirjana Puglia is doing the art and Ellie Wright is doing the colors. It's my first time writing for someone else because I've written before but for me, so it was a learning curve. I hope I did a good job, but it's I now understand why writers get so excited all the time. It feels like it's not even I can't even explain. It's like I'm writing words and I definitely have some sort of image in my head, and then you send it to an artist and then it comes up with something that is just like they put their mind to it. It's different in the best way, and it's been pretty amazing.
Now, as an artist yourself, when you're writing, do you try to kind of use your that those skills when to kind of maybe direct the scene or how things flow throughout the story?
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely had, an image, in my head, and maybe I would be suggesting some angles here and there, but I also try to keep it as loose as I can. I know it depends for, any artist, but I know that me personally, I like to have guidelines, but I love to
Mhm.
have the room to like play around, which is what I try to leave that kind of room, but I did include a lot of like references, especially because it takes place in like the 50s, like late 50s early 60s, so like I definitely created a big like folder with a lot of like fashion and stuff like that, which could be interesting. So I did my best. I think I tried.
I know you mentioned a little bit about Cruella's butler. Were there any other characters that you kind of grew attached to writing um, the story that maybe you really couldn't you know expand on or get
I
into?
mean, yeah, I guess so. So the story is narrated by the neighbor's dog, who's
Hmm.
basically spying on Cruella and seeing everything that she's doing, and he's like communicating all of that to either the other dogs or whatnot. But so his name is Jeffries, and he's like this English bulldog. He's very cute, and I I guess I did expand on him, but not too much. But I love that he's our narrator, and I really grew attached to him, and just also the way Mariana drew him was like very perfect. So I don't know. I feel like he adds a little thing.
Mhm. So, as someone who I know as I know you more for your art, your is it is writing this, kind of make, inspiring you to want to write more, characters like this, or continue working. We'll get to your, your graphic novels here in a second, but um, is it kind of making you, giving you the, want to play in some other sandboxes other than just drawing, the pictures?
Yeah, 100%. Drawing for myself, I mean, writing for myself is like it's very I'm learning a lot and it's great, but it's like I'm very much in my own bubble. So I feel like maybe I have like some types of like patterns and stuff like that that I can rely on, which when I write for someone else, it's a little bit more challenging and I learn way more. And it's also, I don't know, I feel like there's like a gratification that it's just like you get it a little bit sooner because like writing a page definitely takes me a shorter time than drawing a page.
Yeah.
um, I also love the collaboration process of comics, and like again when I draw I have this process, but it takes so much longer that yeah, writing for someone else like that has just been at least creatively I'm feeding of it. It's like it's been really really cool and definitely gives me ideas, like there's a lot of like IPs that I love, or things that I would love to like work on one day or dream to work on, but having maybe the opportunity to like write for it without maybe drawing it because I don't have the time is also it's like it scratches an itch, even though it's like I'm not going all the way, but I'm still scratching that itch. Plus it's like I don't know, I feel like as an artist I am first and foremost like a fan of other artists. So there's so many people that I admire, and getting to just like also being like just mind blown by other artists is yeah, it feels very lucky. I'd love to keep doing that for sure.
So let's talk about, your own graphic novels. I believe one is Over My Dead Body and the other one is Eat and Love Yourself.
Yeah, so You Know Love Yourself came out in 2019, which is the first graphic novel that I got out with Boom Studios. It was a Kickstarter at first, and then they ended up picking it up. But basically, it's based on my own sorry my own struggles with my eating disorder as
Mhm.
a in my early 20s, late teens. So it was a really special and sensitive subject for me to work on, but I really wanted to do it. It was also a little cathartic. I haven't been able to like reread it ever since because it's just kind
Mhm.
of hard. But I just remember when I was, in the depths of my sickness, I would be reading comics and it would make me feel good and happy. And I remember just being like, I wonder if there's something about, what I'm going through. I feel like it's always just like comforting and just nice to be able to, I don't know, not feel alone, I guess.
Mhm.
And I hope that's what the book would do. I think it did help some people. I hope I got some like lovely messages, which is I think it was the main goal of doing this. Um, and Over My Dead Body is what I will call my COVID baby. It started during COVID, worked on it during COVID. It's the first time that I was doing the full writing, and it's
Mhm.
like a 200 pages graphic novel. It's a fantasy world. It takes place in a witch's academy. So it was a big challenge to have to create like a magical world. Really fun. Really learned a lot again. Um, yeah. And now I'm working on the second one. So.
Since well, the first one, see, it was, as you were saying, kind of autobiographical.
Mhm.
And the second one, um, where, as a writer, where do you pull your inspirations, from? Which, writers kind of influence you, or do you look to say, I like the way they do X, X, Y, and Z, and I would like to do that too, but kind of put my own spin on it.
One of the latest book that really blew my mind in terms of storytelling was The Human Target.
Hmm.
Um, I love when you have a really good, solid script, but then you have an artist that just breaks down all like that, everything that you know about just like a classic comic page. And sometimes just like breaking a panel a certain way or um, very close to like the lettering bubble or there's an art to it that sometimes I'm just like, how did people think about stuff like that? It's like out there, but it's also just it's brilliant. And it's that kind of
Hmm.
storytelling that really speaks to me. I love movies. I find I don't really have the time to read comics anymore, just because my brain is fried at the end of the day, and I need to just like disconnect completely. And movies
Hmm.
do, like really does it for me. Really got into David Lynch movies recently, and just like getting to because it's just like I can see the storyboard and I can like maybe also see shots here and there and why they turned it that way. It's very visual. So I try to just like take a little bit of things that I see everywhere. I'm definitely a visual person in terms of how I write and the ideas that I get. Often I'll get a scene or maybe I have a story in my mind that I've been just slowly working on lately, and it's very much about nights and black and white, and I'm just trying to like I have scenes in my head and now I have to build around that basically.
Right. So how you've kind of talked about it, but could you expound more on the different muscles you have to use as a writer, and when are going to draw? I mean, I'm sure that there's probably some crossover there, but um, how does maybe what I'm trying to say is, how does your writing make you a better artist?
um Having to explain with words what I have in my head for someone else to understand it is probably, it's like it's the talking duck, right? It's that thing of like when you say something out loud, it's when you see what's right and what's wrong about it. And I find that writing scripts it's what helps me, because when it's in my head and I can like draw it on paper, but once I actually write down and break down a panel or a page or anything that happens, then you see what's wrong, then you see what's right. Um, and I think that makes me a better artist,
Hmm.
because you do have to have some like it needs to be cohesive. It needs to be like you need to understand it when it's written down. Also, English is not my first language, so having to do all of that in another language has just made me just even work even harder. So I think that's what I like about working in this like creative field and creative industries, that you get to try new stuff. And even if I don't know, I've been in comics for like about 6 years now, and um, every time you start a new contract or a new project, you're gonna do stuff wrong, and you're gonna learn a lot, and yeah, it's very gratifying.
So when you let's because you do a lot of covers.
Mhm.
Um, what's your process when you are doing a cover? Do they kind of are you do they give you like a this is what we're looking for, and then you put your do your creative thing.
It will depend on the editor, publisher, the series. Sometimes, often for DC, if it's a variant, it will have to be at least connected to the story somehow, or because they get a lot of variant for the same issue, so you don't want all of them to, I don't know, look too similar or stuff like that. So often I will get either a suggestion of what they want to see, or sometime a bit more hands-on, which actually is like really great, because sometimes they have ideas of compositions and visual that I wouldn't get. And then sometimes you're gonna be asked to do a cover, and people are just gonna be like, do what you want. And you're like, okay. But then it's like, it's the perfect balance where, like, is it too much freedom? Is it not enough? So it's just trying to, yeah. And then usually I do my own digging about if I don't know the story or the project enough to like learn a bit more about it. And sometimes I usually will do 2 to 4 sketches of different compositions, something a little bit more like simple, and something a little bit more out there, and then something a little bit more in the middle. And often I will keep my fingers crossed so they choose the more out there one, but try to experiment a little bit. But yeah, usually it's always a different story.
What's the favorite? What's your favorite cover that you've had the opportunity to do?
There's this one Catwoman cover where she's pouring milk, and she's leaning against the wall, and she's got kitties at her feet. My kitties are the ones that are featured on the cover, and the editor was also like, "Can we have my cat on there?" So I'm really proud. I rarely am really, really proud of something that I've done, but I'm really happy with this cover and how it came out, and the fact that it's got our cats on there makes it, I don't know, even more special.
And how long does it usually take you to do a cover? I know you said you do like a couple, some rough sketches, but once you know what you're going to do, how long does it usually take you? I know it probably depends on how intricate it is, and
Yeah. Let's say like if it's got multiple characters, it's definitely going to be like a full day, including the evening and maybe the next morning of work. Um, I work all day and evenings. Just I love working. It's a problem that I have. Um, but if it's like a more simple, just maybe like a one character, then you can cut maybe half of the day. So it's like a day and a half, 2 days for like a full final piece, I'd say, something like that.
do you work digitally or with pen and paper and
Yeah. No, I used to, but
Mhm.
because it's just a little faster. I do everything on my iPad now, um, which is great and also not great because I work everywhere all the time. But it is, yeah, I do everything on it. It's great. I love it.
Now, do you have a certain character that you first off really like to draw, and then second of all, one you may have to draw, but you just don't like doing it.
Oh gosh. You know what? I used to be really afraid of uh drawing Batman and Superman. I love them, and I used to just be like, "Oh my god." Because their posture and they are so iconic that, like, and just Batman just getting his mask right is just a headache, because if you get it wrong. It's so obvious that you got it wrong. Um, I still get the anxiety. But
Mhm.
these two would be like I love drawing them, but I also hate drawing them because it's so scary every time.
Now, you've done a couple of the variant covers for Cruella de Vil. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I got actually to do all the main covers for the miniseries.
Okay. Do you have a favorite one of those that?
I have two actually. The first one where she's just looking at herself with like all the dogs like howling at her. I'm really happy. I feel like it really encapsulates like the idea of the series, and it's issue 4. It's you have like a profile shot of Cruella, and you have Buckingham Palace and corgis running around with like the jewels, the royal jewels. And again, I don't know, I really like how it came out, the contrast of the color, and just she I I tried to keep her really composed in terms of just she just looked angry on most of the covers, but I felt like I could go a little bit crazier on that one. Because I love drawing Cruella when she's a little unhinged.
So, who are your artistic uh, influence, or kind of like the writer's question? Who are your art? The artists that you kind of look to and are inspired by.
Yeah, there is definitely many, but I don't know if you're familiar with Alessandro Barbucci. He was the artist for some Italian comic called Sky Doll, which is just absolutely gorgeous. I saw that when I was a teen, and it's like Disney looking. It's pink and blue, and the story is like the most adult, just PG 13. Like it's not for kids, but it looks like it's for kids. And this kind of combination, I was just like, I love this. This is what I want to do. And
Hmm.
then love Brian Lee O'Malley, Becky Cloonan, and Greg Smallwood, terrific artist. There's too many.
Yeah. Okay. So, since Cruella de Vil is a part of the Disney staple, what are your top five Disney films animated?
Oh, an animated. I do like, well, obviously it's funny, but the 101 Dalmatians has always been one of my favorite. It was like I got married last year, and it was kind of like part of our, little wedding gifts and stuff like that. 'Cause it's one of the first movies that we had seen together.
Hmm.
So it has a special place for me, but all the early classic ones. I feel like I had to hit my 30s to enjoy Fantasia. Now I really do. It's really beautiful. But love Bambi, love Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, obviously. Um, the other ones that I'm thinking about are obviously Pixar, but
Hmm.
I do love Frozen a lot. And recently it's Disney and Pixar, but Turning Red was a beautiful movie. I loved it a lot.
And I
Can I
think that
return the
was
question? I'm curious because I want to know yours.
oh, animated Disney. I've always had for some reason I've always liked the Rescuers. I don't know. I mean, I just it's one of the first ones I remember seeing. Um, Great animated Disney. Well, if we're including Pixar, I'll say Up
Mm-hmm.
because the old man looked like my grandfather.
That's really sweet.
um, let's see. I'm trying to think of the. I'm trying to. I think I I should have. If I was going to ask a question, I should have studied up on
You're good. You're good.
Disney. But no,
I
I mean,
I'm
I remember growing up with a lot of them, and now that we have Disney Plus, and it's
Yeah.
it is kind of weird, now that like they have the warnings. It's like some of these things aren't cool.
I know, and I'm realizing that there's a lot that we used to watch that was just like pretty dark, and like I grew up more with Don Blues than I grew up with Disney, and Don Blues is really
Mhm.
dark.
Well,
Loved it though.
wasn't that All Dogs Go to Heaven?
Yes, you had that one, Thumbelina as well, and
Mm.
there's always like a really just dark, just kind of like side to it, like Secret of Nim. Yeah, they're pretty
Oh, I
heavy.
I I I I I I loved Secret of Nim. I loved the movie and the book, and that was one of my favorites growing up.
See, it's yeah, it's so good.
So, we've talked about you wanting to write more. Are there any characters or you know, licenses that you would, jump at the chance to write?
Um, I've I've always been like a My Little Pony person. Love them. I think they offer like a lot of opportunity to just like do just a lot of fun things. There's a lot of Marvel characters that I would love to play with, especially Aunt May.
Hmm.
I have a little story in my mind with Aunt May. I feel like she doesn't get enough of the spotlight. In terms of DC, I love Big Barda, and
Okay.
I would love to do something with her as well. Um, and I don't know, Swamp Thing is also one that I would love to play around with. I just feel like people are more used to like me drawing cute girls and whatnot, which is like I love doing that. It's great, but I
Swamp
kind
Thing
of
can
want
be
to go.
cute.
Yes, I kind of want to go in the total like just like unexpected, I guess, and I just draw a Swamp Thing. It would be so fun. I'd love
Hmm.
to. So, or even write them. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if since you're Canadian, Mount Rushmore, who would be your Mount Rushmore of comic book creators?
Oh my god. Hi. Gosh, it's so hard. Because it's like
Everybody says that,
personally
so
for
you're in good company.
yeah, it's like, is it personally for me? Is it like what they did for the industry? Because like there's also a lot of that. Because like I
Hmm.
feel like you can't go without, putting just like Kirby and Stanley and everyone up there because they have to be
Yeah.
up there. Obviously. Yeah, I feel like they have to be up there. It
Kirby has
can't
to be
just
there at
be
least.
yeah, it can't just be for me.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like these two, obviously, and I don't want to go further than that because I feel like I'm gonna forget people, and I don't want to forget people.
Yep. Fair enough. So, are you currently reading anything? Well, you said you didn't read. You're not able to read comics, but are you reading anything other than that you're enjoying, or kind of are you watching anything?
I'm doing a lot of all of that actually. It's funny because I just started reading. I have it right there. Um, um, Dracula. It's
Okay.
just it's I've I think I've read it, but I've mostly like stopped looking at every page like 15 times because it's just absolutely gorgeous. Um, so I've been doing a lot of that while also I am trying to catch up on my classics in terms of books. So I read a lot of audiobooks when I draw. Lately, it's been a lot of 1984 um,
Okay.
and The Brave New World. I'm doing all my dystopian,
I,
just sci-fi, as much as
you're
I
just
can.
prepping.
Uh, I mean, it's very brutal. Each one is very different and it hits home in just a specific way. it hurts. And I'm rewatching Arrested Development, so I'm trying to
Oh,
balance out with like the comedy and yeah, finish watching Fallout, which was really great.
I'm halfway through that. Yeah. So
Have you
I
played the games as well, or?
I haven't played like the actual video games. I have
Mhm.
the app game on my phone.
Okay, yeah, sure. It's
So
it's it's part of it.
yeah, but so I have some idea what is going what to expect, but I really want to play the game because one of the games takes place in the state I was born. I think it's what
Oh,
is it?
that's cool.
Fallout 78 takes place in West Virginia, where I was
So you
born.
can you can go look for stuff.
Yeah,
That's really fun, actually.
but I'm enjoying I am enjoying that show, and um, I didn't know if I would because I'm not a big gaming person.
I'm not either. I'm like a gamer by proxy. I sit on the couch and I draw while my husband plays video games. He loves them. I know everything about video games because of him. But I feel like the show did really well into like grabbing you even if you're not someone who is aware of the games. I feel like we're getting a lot of like good video games adaptation recently.
Mhm.
So thumbs up.
So you mentioned that when you're working drawing, you listen to audiobooks. Do you when you if you listen to music, what type of music do you listen to? If you do, to get the creative juices, kind of
Yeah.
going.
I actually got into a bit of a rabbit hole lately with Willow Smith, which is not I would not expect. I didn't know what kind of music she was doing, and her music is really it blew my mind. It's very different. It's kind of like alternative rock, but it's really good. I'm loving it. I've been listening to maybe way too much of it. But yes, a lot of that.
Okay. And I just always am interested to see what people are listening to when they're creating because well, first off, I can't create, so I can't draw circles, so we're good.
It's we all create in different ways. Like this is your creative space here right now, but um is there any time that you get to listen to music when you do something? Is it just like when you get to like drive or?
Usually when I'm in the days that I'm in my office, I usually put on an audio book and just
Yeah.
you know kind of sink into my own little world and um, either that or do my work or do comic watch stuff.
It's is it mostly like are you able to because for example, I cannot listen to anything that is like with words or someone speaking to me when I write because I get just mixed up. Are you able to do that?
It depends on what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Do I work with numbers, and so if I'm really trying to concentrate, I can't.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm really into catching up on all the Star Wars audiobooks, and so
Okay.
so
Yeah, it's I'm sure it's a little bit it's dense. You wanna actually like pay attention.
right. I want to pay attention to the book, but like I'm also on my second time trying to get through the Stephen King 11/23/63 about the guy who goes back in time to try and it's a very it's a 30-hour audio book. It's just
Oh
like
It I have a couple that are waiting for me that are like 25 plus hours, and every time it's just so intimidating. So good for you for doing it twice.
well, no, I the first time I only got through like a third of the book, and then so I was like I listening to it this time I'm like okay, I listen to this part, I know this story, and then I get the whole new story. So
Yeah. You're like, "Oh, I don't know that part. It's a new one."
so um, let's say I were to strand you on a desert island, and you can only take 5 comics with you, but I will accept like a full run by a certain creator or something like that. So or a omnibus version or collect a collection of the same thing.
Um,
What would be the 5 that you would take with you?
First one would be, there's an Archie Comics, Betty and Veronica, one shot by Adam Hughes that came out. I can't remember when, but I cherish it. I cherish it. It's absolutely beautiful. So definitely this one. The first volume of Gotham Academy.
Mm.
Love the art, love the storytelling. I still get inspired by the way they did the storytelling in this book. Like this is this is why I make comics, really. Um, Seconds, by Brian Lee O'Malley, which is a one shot graphic novel that he did 2012, 2013, I think. Well, incredible. So we're at 3. I know I'm looking away. I'm looking at my bookshelf
Yeah,
because
don't
they're there.
worry. Everyone else does, so you're just
Okay,
doing what
good.
everybody else does.
um, the first volume of like the collected version of which is also it was a Italian Disney comic book that I grew up with when I was a kid. And the last one would have to be, oh, it's hard. That's really hard. Maybe the first volume of um Witch Hat Atelier, which is absolutely gorgeous manga about witches.
Okay,
So
nice.
there you go.
Um, so, what if you could go back and tell a younger Sweeney Boo, give yourself one piece of advice about, you know, and the comic book industry and everything that you, what would you tell yourself?
um Maybe to be a bit kinder with myself, but then I don't know if I would be where I am if I had
Mhm,
been kinder with myself. So I would be like, be kinder to yourself, but not too much.
mhm,
Because you do need the drive. You do need to, sometimes be a bit sad about something and be like, I gotta push through. So maybe that one.
okay. Yeah, I'm just curious. Um, so, are you doing any shows this year?
Yeah, I'm actually going to San Diego for the very first time. So I'm both nervous and very excited. Do you do any shows?
Uh, Mostly New York.
It's one of the main ones. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
love New York. It's a
I
great
mean,
one.
after 4 days of being in New York, down in the city, I live up in Albany, about 3 hours north. But
Okay.
after being down in the city for 3 days, 3+ days, I'm I've had my fill of the city
More
for
than
the
enough.
year.
Yeah. Do you usually drive down there too?
I usually take the train down.
Okay. Because I was gonna say it's if you also have to drive and everything on top of that, but yeah, New York. I usually do New York every year. It's
Mhm.
one of the best ones.
Yeah, and before I had you know before my son was born, I would also go to Baltimore. Um,
Okay.
and I really I love Baltimore because it is a comic book convention. It's comic
Okay.
books. It's Where
Yeah.
in New York is, you have entertainment and everything else. So,
Yeah, it's TCAF, the one that I mentioned earlier. What I liked about it is that it takes place in the Toronto like library, and it's free for people to get in, and it's just creators. It definitely has a more like independent vibe and just like
mhm,
scene, but it's like the fact that it's just people being creative, and it's
mhm.
yeah, it's nice. It's very nice.
So as we kind of wrap up, it's been fun 50 minutes just kind of chatting and finding out about you and your work. Um, what, if anything, are you working on or have out coming out that you can let people know about that they should check out?
Yeah, so I'm still I've been drawing the Harley Quinn ongoing since last year.
Hmm.
There's currently Natasha Bustos who's doing the interior for issues. If I remember correctly, it's 37 to 41, something like that. I can't remember.
Hmm.
40, and I get back onto it after that. So I've been drawing the issues right now. It's been really fun, and
What's your favorite
um,
thing about drawing Harley?
it's the little bit what I was saying with like Cruella. It's Harley has these like sweet, lovely moments with just like Ivy and everything, but she also just goes wild sometimes. And in this like run that we're doing, Harley has her classic costume, and that's been
Mhm.
really fun. But in the previous issues that I did, like I was making a point of every issue she had a different outfit because I really love
Mhm.
clothes. So just like getting to do that, it's been yeah, no. Harley is just like she's everywhere and I love it.
Would you have you written any Harley or just drawing?
No, just drawing. I haven't gotten to write anything for DC. I would love to do it one day.
Mhm.
Fingers crossed, but Tini is doing like a marvelous job with her.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, and when does the next issue of Cruella de Vil come out?
I'm pretty sure it's May 22nd for issue 4, and then the
Okay.
very last issue comes out at the beginning of July.
No.
Yeah.
It it was a very interesting read because again, it seems like Cruella de Vil would be more of a kids, but it was a nice kind of palate cleanser to read it and see how much love you have for the character.
It's hard. It's kind of like, how are you going to make a wannabe puppy murderer loved by people? And I tried to show her human side as much as I could. And still a lot to learn, but I think we all like the whole team. I hope we had fun working on it, and just hope people like you are also enjoying it. So yeah, it's been great.
And so, where can people find you on the internet or on social media?
Yeah, I'm everywhere on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Sweetie Boo. I post pretty regularly, so my name is weird enough that you can find me out there.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time this evening to chat, and if you ever have anything again that you would like to talk about, we'd love to have you back and find out more about that project and about you.
That'd be lovely. Thank you for having me. It was a good time.
All right. Well, have a good evening.
You